But the most downloaded music globally is nostalgia.
True. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought Amapiano is really making waves there.
No, it's making waves, but globally the most downloaded genre of music. Because nobody wants to forget what they danced to when they were young. You know what? You can call me whatever you like. I'm not going to call a single person they. You know, and I know that people are identify as, I don't care if you identify as a giraffe, but don't ask me to change my life so that you can be a giraffe. You will know yourself. That little voice that tells you, I'm drinking too much. I really am drinking too much. And then that night you do the same thing. I really am drinking too much. And that night you do the same thing. That goes like this, very slowly in the beginning. And then suddenly it goes like that. And that's what happened to me. I lost everything.
I'm very impressed with what you're trying to do.
Mina ngithandela utshwala.
Nathi singama community omphakathi. Usiphosile? Uyasijoya futhi thina. Journalists have been asking me what happened between you and Somizi.
It's a good day to have a happy day. It's a Happy Days on podcast. Ngendlela Ep81 right. The name is Rishwala. Thank you so much for joining us. We are at the Zoo Lake where everything is happening. You can see the dam there. In Zulu we say Amatata Tute Dami. And we're enjoying ourselves today. And I'm having someone, I call her, she's a guru in the music in South Africa, legend. You know, she's also performed for the Queens and Queens. I understand you also performed for Queen Beatrix of the
that was
Netherlands.
a long time ago. Yes, Queen Beatrix, the Queen of England. But the most important person for me is Nelson Mandela.
It's Nelson Mandela during the inauguration.
Yes,
you actually performed there. And I know that Nelson Mandela is a good friend of yours.
He was. We had a wonderful relationship. He wrote to me when he was still in. I wrote to him when he was in prison, and he wrote back, which was the most unbelievable thing. When he was still incarcerated, saying that he'd managed to get some newspapers and things had arrived. You know, now that he was in Victor Verster, he wasn't still on the island, and he just said he'd read certain things and he was very proud of the way, as a young girl, because I was very young, that how my career was going, and that he approved of a lot of things. And then he warned me, he said, don't become too political because you will lose your power. But it was a lovely letter. And he was a remarkable man, you know, and he in his time, at that time, he was exactly what we needed.
Yeah, I know the significance of that letter is mostly that obviously he wrote it whilst he was still in prison. And he wrote it after you were banned somewhere in 1988, where you were banned for playing for offense.
Yeah, well, I was banned when I came back from Zimbabwe by the apartheid government. I was banned because I'd gone over to perform for orphans that had become orphans because of South Africa's border war policies. You know, we used to just rush up to the borders of every country that bordered our country and just try and push the people back by killing them. And of course I was vehemently opposed to anything like that. And Sally Mugabe, actually, she was a wonderful woman. And in those days, Bob was also a very, very decent man too. And things turned when Grace arrived. But Sally Mugabe was an amazing woman, and she was doing this big raising money and awareness about the orphans as a result of South Africa's border wars. And I went to perform at this concert. And I met Miriam Makeba for the first time. And somebody, I think it was obviously a spy, was at the concert and saw me backstage, and when I met Miriam Makeba, I was overwhelmed, and they took a picture of us hugging each other. Mazi was still in exile at that time. She was, you know, she just been refused to come to her own daughter's funeral in South Africa. And that was enough. When I got back from Zimbabwe, a friend of mine actually that worked at the SABC at the time phoned me and said to me, there was only the SABC in those days. It was everything that we heard was state controlled. And she said to me, I've got a feeling that and basically she'd taken something out to play of mine, and they'd scratched with a needle right through all the albums. It was albums and all the CDs or cassettes, and they had said, and written on the albums was, "Do not play." So we wondered what it was, and they said, no, PJ Powers is persona non grata. She's banned. She's not allowed to be heard on the airwaves. And which lasted for over a year, which is a long time, and there were certain parameters where I couldn't go, and what I couldn't, nothing compared to what other people were going through. But still a lot for a young girl.
Oh my goodness, what an excitement. I even forgot to introduce or to welcome you on the show.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Welcome to Happy Days.
Yeah, very
High five. Imagine. It's quite an excitement because we wanted to talk to you for quite a long time now, So I'm sure you'll bear with the excitement even on the crew there.
No, I love people being excited. What's not to be excited about? We must always...
You are born Penelope Jane Dunlop.
Dunlop. Yeah.
And then you use the Jane and the
PJ.
The PJ for P for Penelope.
Yeah.
And then the J for Jane.
And
then Powers.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the name Thandeka, I know that there's a good story around it. The story of the amphitheater in Soweto. Can you just tell us that part, because I want us to actually dwell much later on the road to Soweto for the first time.
Well,
but
sure.
let's talk about the name Thandeka. How did it come about?
Thandeka came about, as you say. It was a simple, I had no plans to be a crossover artist. It wasn't something that was in the back of my mind. I was listening to English and American bands. And because I was a white South African growing up in South Africa, and that was apart from Miriam Makeba, who as a little girl, I used to dance, and she was I loved her. And my mother used to bring, because they were banned as well, so my mother used to bring this stuff from overseas for us kids to listen to. And it was amazing because I got a phone call. Well, I didn't. My management got a phone call, and my manager phoned me, and he said to me, "Do you want to do a show in Soweto?" So I said, "Of course, I'll do a show anywhere, What did I know? I was 20 years old, 21 years old. And, I'd love to do a show in Soweto. And I had never been, because of my upbringing, and, that Swart Gafar had never been part of my upbringing, I'm very lucky that I came from the family I came from. My grandmother took me into a township for the first time when I was a little girl. She was part of the African Children's Feeding Scheme. And so I had none of that Swart Gafar.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, sure, let's go and do this thing.
Yes.
If you're so good to me, you're so good to me, that song. Yeah. And everything you do.
And I was playing that song in the morning.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
And the one where you actually done a duet with Steve Kekan.
Steve, You're So Strong.
Yeah, You're So Strong.
Yeah, so I went in with that song, and it was VVO and Kansas City, who were on what is now Ukhozi FM, Radio Zulu. It was called Radio Zulu.
Yeah.
And they played the song, and I remember after I did You're So Good to Me, Collins Mashego, he was overwhelmed with excitement. He said, "We've got to marry this lady to Soweto." and I was sort of overwhelmed, and the four guys in the band, we'll tell you about that when we talk about the road.
Collins Mashego, is it dad to Vinola Mashego?
Yes.
Is it the one?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were determined they were going to play this, because you weren't allowed to play Vernac. I mean, you were only allowed to play Vernac on Radio Zulu in those days.
Yes.
Very few. They separated us really well by language. Radio Xhosa played isiXhosa, Tswana played Tswana, across the board. It was an amazing experience, because he said to the crowd, "What should we call her?" And there were variations, but they sort of started with Thandi. Thandiswa, Thandeka, Thandi.
Okay.
It was all and they said Thandeka, and I drank mkomboti from a calabash that day, and I was given the name Thandeka, which stays with me till today. I'm very proud of it.
And I see you always embrace this name.
Yeah, and you know what happened was I suddenly was on the bill with Ladies with Black Mambaza, Abakwanyane, Kondris with Kubu, you know, people that I suddenly thought, why am I listening to American and British music when I'm sitting in a country that produces this music, you know?
Yeah.
I wish young people would go back and listen to that music and stop trying to be American because nobody wants secondhand anything, you know.
Yeah. And then, but then 1979, let's just go way back, where you started with the group called Panda. Is it Panther?
Panther, yeah. 79, I matriculated very young, and my father was adamant that I should go to university. I had a privileged upbringing, and my parents could afford to send me to university. And so my father was horrified. He said, education is a privilege in this country. Look at how many million people are deprived of education. And he tried to make me feel really guilty. I said, I don't want to go to university. Go and pay for somebody else to go to university if you feel that strongly about it. But
what is it that you wanted to do?
I wanted to be a singer. I knew from 5 years old.
Okay.
You know, I knew what I wanted to do. Anyway, he made me work in the bank for a year. He thought maybe I'll come to my senses. Well, that lasted 2 months and I got fired.
Yeah.
And then I won a talent competition with that band, Panther.
Okay.
We were terrible.
Okay, it's all ladies band.
All ladies band, yeah. We wanted to become the next Clout, you know. Clout was a big hit and we thought we could become the next Clout, which of course we couldn't because we were really bad. And after a couple of months winning the competition and then moved up to Jozi, because this was in KZN, moved up to Jozi, and basically they left Johannesburg and I stayed and I got myself a manager and then joined a band. We became Hotline. Hotline had success. I was writing the songs. We had enormous success for a short amount of time. For 5 years we had Sundela Current and Jive Mapansula and Jive Pansula, My Patas and Jive, all of those great songs, you know, Dance Mama, and it just took off. It just started to take off. Then the band broke up. Actually, I was banned in '89 because the band then broke up, and then I had started my career in Africa.
Someone said I should ask you if you are inspired or your music is inspired by Tina Turner.
Yeah.
In a way.
My voice, yes. My voice, and I loved her. I loved from when I was very young. She had that. I've still got the same voice that I sang in those days. You know, it's just the direction of my music moved because it was very organic and very natural, you know. I didn't decide that I was going to adopt black culture or anything like that. That wasn't
It just happened,
and I think that's the reason it has lasted so long, because it was not planned. It was completely authentic, and it just happened.
So you didn't release any material with Panther?
No. We weren't good enough to go into the studio, and I wasn't a good enough singer, you know.
Okay. Yeah, but now I want to go back to George Van Dayk.
Yes. The only Afrikaner
and
in the
his
band.
fear for
Soweto. Keep quiet
Soweto.
all the time.
I like the story of why is Soweto was so traumatic or was traumatizing him in that way.
Well, I think that whites in this country, I mean, I'd like to know how many whites in this country have been to Soweto now in 2024. How many? I can tell you that there are more Danish and English and international visitors, because we all know we're sitting here at Sukumzi's today, but I've been going to Sukumzi's for years in Soweto. Whites don't go. South African white people don't go to Soweto. So I think that basically it was a historic. You know, the Soweto riots happened.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got some nice drinks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lebza. Right.
Lovely, lovely.
Okay, this will go that way.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Say halalis. Halal. All right. This will go to Zay. Oh, this one go to.
No problem.
All right.
So basically, that's what happened.
Okay.
But George, he was terrified. I think everybody was. We had been fed so much nonsense. I wanted to swear, but I don't swear in interviews.
So it was the media was painting the picture as if
I think
Soweto
it was.
a dangerous
I don't think
place to be.
Soweto was dangerous. But the white people, the Nats had succeeded. They had completely driven a division between whites and blacks in this country by saying that the black people were inferior and the white people should fear them.
Yeah.
You know, it was a perfect strategy. And then for me, the biggest war crime of all is not educating people. And then Bantu education came into the mix. So we just all sat controlled by this body of terrible, terrible men who propagated this idea that you were going to be slaughtered. You know, well, fortunately, I knew differently. I had a woman that looked after me from when I was 18 months and actually did the unveiling of her tombstone a couple of months ago, who was with me my whole life, called Lillian Kanyile.
Yeah.
And somebody that I loved as much as my mother. In fact, my pain at losing her was greater than my biological mother. She was the first safe place that I felt. So I wasn't nervous of going into Soweto. But when I got out to negotiate with the policeman, because of course the cops were there, the roadblock.
Yeah. On your way to Soweto.
Yeah. Whites weren't allowed to go to Soweto in those days. They did this. And I stopped at the road. We stopped at the roadblock. All of us. We were in a red Ford Cortina.
Yeah.
5 of us.
I remember the
And the guys had mullets.
Yeah.
You know, we were like smoky.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And it was 4 white guys and me, and we stopped and we got out, and this big Afrikaans policeman standing there, and he went, "Where do you think you're going?"
Yeah.
I said, "I'm going to Soweto to sing at Jabulani Amphitheatre." He said, "Are you mad? Do you not know where you are?" I said, "Yeah, I know where I am." And there was all of that. And then he said, "Well, be it on your own head." And I said, "You need to open this roadblock because we're going to drive through it." The guys were all sitting in their car like this, terrified. And they opened the roadblock, went through, and the trajectory and the direction that my music and my life took, I knew when I was on that stage. I knew with the people that sang along to "You're So Good to Me," I knew that my life was going to change. And it did.
But weren't you afraid if anything will go wrong at
No.
that time?
I wasn't. That kind of, you know, the only danger we ever had in the 90s in the townships was started by the SAP. It was started by the South African police because they would come into all over. They'd come with the Caspers and use the K word, and they would provoke people to throw stones so that they could open fire. You know, without a doubt, I saw it. This is not a rumor. It happened. I don't think we're in a very healthy place right now in South Africa.
That's true.
I am disappointed. I'll say that out loud. I only voted the first time in 1994. I wasn't going to vote until everybody could vote. It seemed immoral to me. But that was those days, and the guys were terrified. It didn't last long because we just were so unbelievably embraced by the people. Honestly, it was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah.
I mean, the whole of the country, they just went, "Come," you know, and it was amazing.
But don't you think also the issue of your music coming across in all different cultural fan base, it actually helped, you know, in the new dispensation?
Yes, I think obviously later, you know, in the beginning, I was perceived by whites as a traitor. You know, I was a traitor to my people. I said, well, who are my people? First of all, you've got to. My people are not based. I didn't have a lot of black friends then. I'll admit, but I certainly wasn't going to say that I was going to move forward in my life basing my friendships on what color they were. If anything, I think I was more racist, or I think I was more determined to keep myself from the Afrikaners, you know, which was also ignorant of me. Because one thing I've learned is that you cannot use one paintbrush to paint everyone. We are different, and we want to be different. We want to retain our individuality. We want to retain our very special diversity, but we must respect everybody's culture and traditions. You know, that's what we have to do. As I say, you can't use one paintbrush. So in the beginning, I got a huge backlash from whites, you know, who were determined that I was being disloyal to my people. And I said, well, you know, I don't know who you think my people are. You know, I don't know. You are imagining who my people are based on the color of my skin. I don't operate like that. And so there was but after I had done the rugby, in 1995. Then the whites all sort of suddenly came on board and said, well,
Warming
maybe
up, yeah.
she's not so bad, and maybe she isn't a terrorist, and maybe
Yeah.
she isn't a communist, and maybe she isn't all of those things, which of course I wasn't, but I wasn't going to be shut up. You know.
Yeah, but now I'm checking from the times where Hotline started around 1980s.
Hotline, I can't remember, but I think our
I
first
think it
album
started on the
Must
just
have been-
1980s.
must have been 81, our first album,
Okay.
because I remember when I did You're So Good to Me. When I recorded You're So Good to Me, I was 21.
I wanted to say that the very same George also was the one who composed Jabulani,
Yes,
the song.
that's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you just tell us
Well, you-
how that how
I'll tell you how that happened.
Yeah.
If you listen to Buddha music, okay, because he was a Boer. Okay, he was it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
a Boer
yeah.
as in not a Boer in the
Like a
bad
farmer,
sense.
yeah.
He wasn't that. But he Buddha music, ding ding chick, ding ding.
Yeah.
If you listen to what the colours are listening to in Cape Town, that ding 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 ding, chick-a-ling-a-ling, that's Jabulani.
Oh,
if you
yes.
break it down, ding
Oh,
ding, chick, ding
yes,
ding.
yes, yes.
It's very it was very
Okay.
symbiotic, and at that time I'd written. Eli, I'm going home.
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
We thought
yeah,
that was going to
yeah.
be the single.
Okay.
That became the soccer song, and it became. But that's what we thought was going to be the single. But Jabulani kept.
Okay, yeah.
It just, you only really. In those days, the single only emerges from an album once you are in the mix, because and Jabulani just grew and grew into this tall poppy, and there was just no argument as to what the first single was going to be, because it came bolting like a racehorse out of the stalls, and it was glaringly obvious that that's what we had to go with, which of course I couldn't be more happy to have been. It was actually, sadly, the only song that I had success with that I didn't write. I mean, I wrote the "You Can Sing and Dance" that
yeah.
part, but George, it completely,
So it was his own way of thanking people of Soweto.
I don't think he knew what
For
he was
the
doing.
love.
I honestly think, because he didn't write any other, real hits.
Yeah.
I think and I think that's why Jabulani has lasted, because it was an honest song. It came from his heart. It was his experience. I've had a lovely day at Jabulani.
Yeah.
We have, and it was an honest. He wrote it from a place of
Yeah,
absolute
that's true.
the specialness that he must have experienced, on that day. Because of course, we all experienced something different.
Something different,
but they
yeah.
all led us in a completely direction which we were only too happy to take, because we were embraced in a way that we hadn't been embraced before.
Yeah. And then obviously the collaboration with Steve Kekane
Yeah.
as well.
Actually, Feel So Strong was the biggest seller. With Steve. I went to see Steve at the Coliseum.
Colosseum.
Yeah. And he had Raising My Family. I guess I'm going to be okay.
Oh yeah. Oh man, you're
Oh,
reminding
what
me
a
of
song.
those
eh?
good times.
And I remember just thinking, I have to sing with this man, because he was like the Stevie Wonder of South Africa.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And he was such a nice man, and I loved him, and it was so sad when he died in COVID. We had a really nice friendship. And we were still singing Feel So Strong just before COVID.
Yeah. And then obviously, apart from that collaboration with Steve Kekane,
There's a collaboration that I'd love to draw attention to everybody to, is the wonderful song that I did with Margaret Singana,
With Margaret
who is
Singana.
somebody that I constantly feel is not
Okay.
recognized enough in this industry. That woman was on the David Letterman show. She was a huge global icon. And she had had her first stroke, and so she was wheelchair bound. And that was one of the greatest privileges to write that song. Do you remember? Music
I remember
for
that
Africa.
melody. Yeah.
Yeah. It was that was also a big hit for me.
Because I know that there's a song that you have mentioned being featured for the film that actually got the award nominations, Invictus.
Invictus, that was
Yeah.
World in Union. That was the rugby song.
That's a world
Yeah,
renewal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Because I know that somewhere there's a film where you actually
Yeah, that was
featured.
it was an enormous hit. Invictus was a huge film. Yeah.
And then the group Hotline lasted for 7 years.
No, we actually, I think, no. we did 6 albums, which means it couldn't have lasted. And the sixth album, which was a horrible album because it was because we were being held by management and they said, you owe us another album. So I think I wrote that album in an afternoon. I said, here's your album, we're going. Yeah, you can have this. And I think it was 5 years.
Okay.
We did one album. George was the first person to leave because he won a green card.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. And I didn't even know he'd entered the competition, but he thought that this was the golden thing to happen to him. I wouldn't want a green card if you paid me to have one. I look at America now and I think, what's the fuss?
Yeah.
Why is everybody in awe of this country that is so, I don't know, frightening for me?
Okay, so he left for
he left, and then we did one last album, and then we were broken up. So I think the core of what Hotline was 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then thereafter, you did your fair share of solo releasing.
Well, actually, the last 2 years of Hotline, I was producing solo albums because my solo album was Dance Mama.
Yeah.
And There Is an Answer.
We'll find a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was writing too.
That
for
is
the
my
last
favorite one.
Yeah, I know.
I must say. And there's another one where you talking about children or
give the
learning.
children education. It's the key to liberation.
That song. I love that song. Those are the songs I actually played in the morning.
Those are great. That's a song I'm very proud of writing. And I did that with Tsepo Tolo, And I mean, Tsepo's voice it wasn't a voice, it was something beyond, I listen to that Sankamota stuff now and I think, yes, they were a great band.
Yeah, indeed.
They were a great band. It was a great tragedy, that accident that wiped most of them out. It was a great tragedy, that.
But what do we want to say, PJ, about the music that we have currently, in comparison? I don't want to compare to say we're comparing because we're saying there's the music that is not okay, but just to look at whether as the country we have grown so much and where are we heading? Are we heading to, where we say, we've arrived? Or because of the Mapianos,
No, Amapiano is not going to pull us over. I mean, it's part of our culture. It's like Sophia Town. It was part of our culture. What I'm concerned about is that in a country where we have so many we have so much cultural diversity and we have so many wonderful things to write about, and we are far better than America will ever be with, just have a look at what's going, and I'm always fascinated with why suddenly South African artists, they go to America and they come back, they've got American accent. What is this fixation that I'll never forget, Lucky Dube came up to me once and he said, hi, Thandeka. I said, what are you footak wearing? I said, what are you doing? Why you got an American accent? You've been in America for 3 months. Come on, And then, of course, because I grew up with Lucky and we just laughed and laughed and laughed. But so it worries me how much American influence is in Amapiano. Okay. That doesn't worry me, but what I want us to do is to continue to evolve musically as a country without losing any of the past
the essence,
music. That's one thing I do respect about the British and the Americans is they don't say, okay, well, that's over now. Now we move it. That's over. Nothing's ever over. It is a part of our cultural history. Like Soweto, Kwaito. I loved Kwaito. Kwaito is a part of our culture. Amapiano will be a part of our culture. It's a part of, and we're lucky to not just have Atlantic soul, Motown, rock, pop, R&B, and rap at least. But we've got many more than that. And I don't want any of it to get lost or left behind. I would love to see radio stations embracing, that's why I think stations like Ukhozi FM is such because they play that, they don't forget the past we can't forget and mustn't forget the past, any of it. the good stuff or the bad stuff, because the bad stuff we can't forget because we cannot let it happen again.
That's true.
So musically and culturally, let's be very aware that Amapiano is not the new music of South Africa. It's a part. It's another part of our culture. And it will, Kwaito hasn't gone. It's recorded. If you were doing historic on
It
the
just
music,
evolves,
it
yeah.
evolves and
Yeah.
it keeps on evolving. But the most downloaded music globally
That's
is
true.
nostalgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought Amapiano is really making waves there.
No, it's making waves, but globally the most downloaded genre of music. Because nobody wants to forget what they danced to when they were young. You know? So many people that they'll say, oh, my parents used to, and my grandmother used to dance to Jabulani, and I remember you. So that's what we want, is a continuum of people that watch, that listen to PJ Powers and to Ladies with Black Mambazo and to Casper, and listen to, and you know, one of my greatest blessings was singing with Double HP.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
we had an energy that was electric, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we must be careful to embrace everything and everyone going forward.
Going forward, indeed. And then someone also asked me, in fact, to make sure that I talk about you and the love of the language Zulu. Where is that? Because you're from the KZN yourself.
Yes,
That's where you're born.
I was lucky. I grew up without Afrikaans and with Zulu. So, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, now but my mother spoke Zulu first. She was a farmer's daughter.
Okay.
And she was on a sugar farm in the North Coast. So my mother's first language was Zulu.
Okay.
Not at home, obviously, but so she spoke fluent. My mother never addressed any of the people that worked for us and they were all Zulus, anything else but Zulu. So it was a very familiar sound to me.
Okay.
So whilst I'm not fluent, I know that my accent is correct.
Yeah.
And I know that I can get by if somebody, I can have a conversation, and I can read Zulu, but I can't write it. It's not natural. To do Q, but it's natural for me to go qua. You know, it's so natural for me to click, but not to write it.
Yeah.
I know it by ear.
Okay.
And I love it. I think it's a
Yeah.
beautiful. I think Xhosa is a lovely language too. I think both those Ndebele languages. I've got a real soft spot for those.
Yeah.
know.
But if we can just, when you're talking about being remembered for something in South Africa, what is it that you think you want to be remembered for? Precisely when we just think, when you actually think about it right now, whilst you're still here with us.
I'm not going anywhere for a long
No, you're
time.
not. You're not.
You know, I think the most important thing for me to be remembered for is that I cared, and I care. That, I think, is the biggest thing, is I care about the people in this country. And I care that justice is we still don't have justice in this country. And I care about the fact that the whites in this country need to apologize, and I care about the fact that black people in this country have to unfortunately open their hearts again. And because but the whites have to first acknowledge that we all benefited by that system. And I think when whites say a 16-year-old white person today has benefited from the apartheid system. It's not about when you were born. And, you know, and in 20 years' time, maybe that will have been readdressed, or 10 years' time it can be addressed, but it can't be addressed in 30 years. 3 generations is not going to fix it. I wouldn't like to see us playing the apartheid card in more than 10 years, I must be honest. You know, we've got to think of something new. You know, what is going on in this country? People don't steal because of apartheid. There isn't corruption because of apartheid. We can't blame everything on apartheid, because if you look at where the corruption is, it's not people that are poverty-stricken coming in and stealing things. It's the guys in charge, right across the board, black and white, that are, you know. So let's just be real about that, you know. But I'd like to be remembered as somebody who cared, and somebody who I have a social conscience. I don't have a guilty conscience. I have a social conscience, and I am very aware, and it's very clear to me where I am and why I am where I am is because of the black people in this country. It's also very aware to me that I want to see things change in this country. I really do. I am not happy to go anywhere until I see the change here. And that's my legacy, is I want to think that if I've changed 3 people's lives, 1 person's life, then I've made a difference. And I know that I have changed 1 person's life. And that's my legacy, is that people will remember that Thandeka or PJ Powers, that I cared.
I thought you'll mention something about laughter and making everyone happy, because wherever you go, everyone is like, beaming with that smile.
Well, I think that if your music doesn't make people happy and doesn't make people think, I think you should give up. Quite frankly.
You're a wrong comedian.
Yeah.
All right, and maybe move on and touch base on something that you mentioned earlier on. You've mentioned something that really stayed with me, about not being identified by sexuality in life when we leave. Because I want us to talk about that part and the sexuality part in your life, because I wanted to ask more questions about it.
Well, first of all, I must be honest. My private life is my private life. I vehemently have always protected that. With regards to sexuality, I am so sick of gender at the moment. I am sick of binary. What is binary? I don't know. I'm never going to call one person they. And you know what? You can call me whatever you like. I'm not going to call a single person they. And I know that people are identify as, I don't give you identify as a giraffe, but don't ask me to change my life so that you can be a giraffe.
Yeah.
I read somewhere there's a school that there's a young boy that represents as a wolf, and they allow him to go and howl on the playing field. That's pushing, and we've become gender obsessed globally. There's binary, non-binary, transsexual, transgender, and I'm like running out of patience with it all, because we've got other issues we need to sort out.
Yes.
With regards to my sexuality, I can only say that I love men and I love women. If I had to put myself, I've had boyfriends and I've had very close female friends who, I think females are naturally drawn and close to one another. I think we are naturally men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So there's always a place where women connect. And there's always a place where men connect. Men connect with cars and speed. And it's not about sexuality. It's about where you are happiest, where you feel the most comfiest at that point in your life. One thing that people must know is I'm an incredibly mental person, but I also respect other people's cultures.
So you don't like the Danaro song, I'm Coming Out?
God, no. No one. I wasn't coming out. Trust me, I wasn't. And I've never had anything to come out from, because I've always played open cards. I've never hidden my love, but I do keep what is private to me private. And no one's ever going to get through that. That is how it is. But is it really important?
Because I see so many celebrities are doing it. The pink community as well. They always supported celebrity who coming out.
Yeah, I've never gone on a gay march. I've never gone to a gay club. I've never identified with homosexual people. And I've never identified with heterosexual people. So I don't know where that puts me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've never done. I'm not interested in going, I'm a homosexual.
This is who I am, yeah.
No, who I am. And I think that came about because of this, the doors that opened for me, culturally and everything. I thought, whilst I don't agree with genital mutilation, I don't agree with corrective rape. Of course I don't. It's disgusting. Let people be.
Yeah.
Let people be what they want to be. I'm not interfering. I will never ask you who you sleep with and what your sexual origin. It does not matter.
But talking about that, PJ, I know that you're very close. In fact, you are so much, I don't know how to put it. When you are at the forefront of fighting, the likes of correctional rape, you know, and homophobia in the country.
I've never been at the forefront of that.
Oh, okay.
I'm just, for me, it's. You don't see masses of people walking down the road saying, "I'm straight, I'm straight."
Yeah, but
so
I'm saying,
I don't identify.
Yeah,
with
but I was
me.
about to say that apart from us showing or coming out, maybe that's the fight we need to fight. Don't you think?
Who's we?
I mean, the country, people in the world.
Yes, I think that it is a very important issue, and I think that it worries me and hurts me to see countries like Uganda sign a bill that says that homosexuality means the death penalty or life imprisonment. So that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know, of course I don't agree with that, but I also don't agree with women pointing at men going, "He molested me and that guy's career's gone." I don't agree with the Me Too. I mean, not the Me Too. The women believe women movement. I don't believe. Why do we have to believe women? We believe everyone. We must assume everyone's telling the truth first of all.
Yeah.
And if somebody's going to point a finger at some poor guy, and say he did this to me, they must have. That you can't bring him down before it's even been proved. I've seen many people's careers get completely eradicated when actually they're innocent. You know, and we're seeing it all the time. You know, the Puff Daddies of the world must go down. Of course they must.
Yes.
You know, and the who's that big film, Harvey Weinstein?
Yes.
And the Art Kellys of the world. Yeah, of course they must go down. But don't interfere with people's private life and what they're doing. Leave it alone. We've got too much else to worry about. We don't accept each other in this country, our different cultures. Isn't that more important than accepting our sexualities right now? We can, you know, I don't know. People will probably come and slam me for saying this, but I can't be anything else but myself.
Yeah, that's true. It's Happy Days on podcast, and we continue with here. It's PJ at the Zoo Lake, and we're enjoying ourselves. We're coming back, and there's still more. And just to remind you, you must make sure that you subscribe with us. Just click that button. And guys, subscribing, you don't pay. I heard guys were talking about, I thought when you're subscribing, you'll pay something, and then a deduction from my account.
No.
Just click that button and support Happy Days so that we'll grow together and bring you more episodes on legends as we go forward. We're coming back. We are Happy Days.
The buzz of the city is what inspires art.
Technology izinto ezintsha uyayazi lento sebayibiza podcast manje ukhona i-Happy Days lapha ku-podcast yabona ke Popeye wami itshele kahle bese ngicale ngaba-happy uyabona bro wami kubalulekile ukuthi uhlale uhappy kahle. That's why nayo i-podcast le Happy Days yenza abantu babe happy. Uyazi Popeye wami ufuna ukubatshela labantu kahlami ukuthi uyabona mabengangeni lapha naba-download ukuthi lo podcast uthole kanjani bohlale be-happy. Happy Days iba happy njengathi uyasibona ukuthi hayi njalo from.
We are back on Happy Days on podcast. Ngendlela ethi ayibe right, it's always a good day to have a happy day. And then we continue with our discussion. Very nice conversation. We are so relaxed, and the sun is like, you know, everything is like smiling at us as we here with PJ. Let's talk about, I know that you're also very strong with, awareness on alcohol abuse.
Yes.
And where is the journey starting from?
Okay.
And maybe I'll ask this question in another different way. How do you know, PJ, that so and so is now alcoholic, or what he's doing is really there's a problem? How do we know that How do I know I'm drinking too much, and it becomes a problem to my life? Because we're drinking for fun, and finding out that now we have a problem.
Absolutely, we definitely do. And these two issues need to just backpedal on what I said previously, because this is very relevant for right now. Me saying that I don't like seeing men picked on and then their entire careers eradicated doesn't take away from the fact that I'm very aware that we have an enormous GBV problem in this country. We have an enormous gender-based violence problem in this country, and globally we do. And it's strange that you talk about alcohol, because in the same breath I can say the one feeds into the other. Not always, but in COVID, when alcohol sales were dropped, I'm not suggesting this ever happen again, because the economy, whatever. But there was less GBV. A lot of violence happens because of alcohol abuse and drugs. Okay. With regards to alcohol, I can speak from experience, because I went into recovery in 2009. I had a very short 5-year stint with alcohol. Okay. And I got into the boxing ring. And for anyone out there that's listening, if you get into the boxing ring with Chigi, you will lose. And what I mean by that is, alcohol is fine. I am the problem. So you got to work out whether you are the problem. And you just said to me, and these are key words. You said, we drink to be happy. Big mistake. Drink when you are happy. Not to be happy. Oh. Because that is self-medication.
Oh, yes. Now we're using alcohol to make ourselves happy.
Exactly. And that's what I started to do. When I drank when I was happy, everything was fine. Then when I drank to get happy, that's when it became a problem. And that's when my life, and you will know yourself. That little voice that tells you, I'm drinking too much. I really am drinking too much. And then that night you do the same thing. I really am drinking too much. And that night you do the same thing. That goes like this, very slowly in the beginning. And then suddenly it goes like that. And that's what happened to me. I lost everything. I lost every cent. I lost my house. They drove my car away. I had to start from scratch. I lost everything. And if your life, and if you're starting to not remember things, wake up in the morning, go and see if your car's there, wondering who drove home. These are telling signs. Yabon.
Yabon.
And so you just be careful. I don't want to come across as some, mama that comes and says you shouldn't drink. Alcohol is not the problem. I am the problem. So at home now, because it's 15 years of 60, I'm going into my 15th or 16th, I can't remember, year of sobriety. I have a full bar when people come to my home, not in the beginning. Not in the first 5 years. Then after 5 years, I would allow my friends to bring their alcohol and leave with it. Oh. And now I have alcohol. I have no desire to, I don't, but it is, just beware of that tiny little thing is we drink when you're happy, not to get happy. Drink not to forget. Make sure that you're drinking for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, it actually gets to me. Because, we obviously drink. And we don't know why sometimes we drink. It's just, others call it peer pressure. I wonder if that thing is there, because...
I never had that. I had my first drink when I was 26.
Yeah.
So I was old.
Old at that time.
I wanted to be was a singer. That's what I wanted to be from when I was young. So at my matric farewell, I was worrying about all my friends who couldn't walk. I didn't. But then when I started to drink, I got into a bad relationship where I was frightened and I did start to drink for the wrong reasons. And that was, as I say, it started the downhill's very slow. It's just like this, and then suddenly,
And maybe we can talk also, whilst we're talking about that, we can talk about the challenges for younger musicians at this day and age, because
I think that social media
there's drugs.
It's a bigger drug than anything.
Apart from alcohol, So I don't know what's the pressure coming from, or where's the pressure coming from for these musicians. They're coming up. You see a musician is coming up so nicely, and then boom, career is over. I think that the idea of being a musician has moved. And to become a musician and to release an album meant that you had to play an instrument, or you had to have a voice, a singing voice, or you wrote your songs like I do on the guitar. Nowadays, music has become somebody who really is a good computer programmer. Yes.
And now with IE or AI, i.e. example.
AI.
Now for i.e. AI. With AI, the lyrics are there. you can feed in a couple of ideas and get lyrics out. I warn against that for one reason. Where is yourself? If you lose yourself in between, where are you? And keep asking yourself, this would be my advice to young musicians, keep asking to myself, be true to who you authentically are.
So artificial intelligence is compromising the equality.
I don't know that because I don't know enough about it. What I do know is that I can see it on Facebook. And let me tell you, everyone is using it at the moment. You see all the Facebook, Instagram, all the posts you can see. And I'm like, ha ha! I can see there. You wouldn't use that word. There's no ways you would go there. You're not, and be careful of that because you don't want to lose yourself. That's my biggest,
worry.
Be true to who you are. Remember where you come from. I know that I am a grounded person because I know that the people that made me famous are people that went without food sometimes. Not food, but without meat at the end of the month to buy the new Thandeka CD or the new PJ Power, And so that has kept me grounded. And I'm reminded of that on a daily basis. And I that will always keep me sane. I just be true, be authentic, be real. Be who you are, because if you're not, you will get found out.
Yeah. I wanted to also talk about the challenges. I'm not necessarily challenges, but how do you see the country is politically? You've mentioned earlier on when we started that you didn't vote. You only voted in 1994.
Yeah.
But there are a whole lot of us who didn't vote. With so many different reasons. But what do you think, especially with the government of national unity now? How do you think the country we heading to a right direction? Is it okay when we govern together?
It's certainly better than a one-party state. We look at the rest of Africa. I mean, the trouble with South Africans is they don't travel in Africa. When they travel, they buy a ticket, they fly over Africa. Go and have a look. Go and have a look at the rest of Africa and tell me whether a one-party state go to Zim and see with having the ZANU-PF rule for since its independence, still ZANU-PF. Go and tell me if that's a good idea. Go and see for yourselves and work it out. Because I've been in Africa. I love Africa and I go to Africa and I love Malawi and I loved Uganda. I love Uganda and I love the Ugandan people and I love Kenya. But let me just tell you that you look at countries like Zambia that are turning around and fast, and just go and have a look at what having everything as a parastatal with the government owning everything and with no privatization. Go and have a look at how it's worked in Africa and then come back and tell me where you want to put your tick.
So we're heading to this is the right direction.
I don't know.
Let's govern together.
People have got to start thinking for themselves. Too many loaves of bread are chucked over the fence and then just before voting. And that makes people are voting with their stomachs, they're voting with everything. It's time to start voting with this.
Yeah.
And I understand that people are voting with their stomachs.
You can't
and that is
follow
a crime that we let people vote with their stomachs. People shouldn't have to vote with their stomachs. It's not good that we're in 2024 and people are still voting because a hamper is going to arrive. It's not good. I was in KZN. I said I went to my nanny's the unveiling of her tombstone, and I went to Ananda. I was in Ananda 3 months ago. Her unveiling was at the beginning of October. 14th of September.
Okay.
And I was in Ananda. And I'm shocked. I am shocked that people are living like that. I'm shocked.
So 30 years, no change?
No, 30 years, the people, Lillian, where she lived, and I'm going to say this, was in a proper brick house and blah, 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 blah. And there were roads to get to her house. There was a way. There's not now. It's become an informal settlement. So it's not the same as it was 30 years ago. Dare I say it? It was more organized 30 years ago. It was the premise for which it was being organized was completely wrong. But now it's just nkukus and roads. And why do we still have long drops? As close as Deep Kloof here in Soweto. Why do we have long drops? We had 30 years to give people toilets. And you can't say, well, we inherited what? Get it right. Stop stealing the money and put it to the poor. Give the
the
people.
problem is corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give the people. Don't worry about
Indeed.
people coming into this country or whatever it is. That's all a smoke screen. I said to, when everybody was saying in Nkandla, I was saying, never mind in Nkandla, that's 350 million. You want to know what's happening on the other side of the fence. Much bigger than in Nkandla. And I was right.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole lot happening.
A whole lot.
Yeah. You need to just use your mind.
Breathe
Yeah.
and realize that you cannot base things on color and sex and be different and be what you are. You know, people always battle. I know my white friends, sometimes they go, yeah, he's a black guy. And I say, why did you say he's a Black people are proud to be black. The worst thing you can say to a person is, I don't see color. I'm like, what, are you colorblind?
Yeah, you don't see color.
You know, and that's meant
That's
to
the
be a
problem.
non-racist statement.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see color. I'm saying this makes you the biggest racist. So we must all we must wake up.
But will it ever end racism in this country?
I don't think globally.
Globally.
I think America's in a much worse
Yeah,
situation than we are.
globally, or we must say.
Yeah, it's a funny thing that people, you know, if I think of whitening products, you know where they're sold the most?
Hmm.
Do you know?
Where?
In the Far East. There's something about it. I
Bleaching.
spend look, I've ruined my skin trying to be brown, lying in the sun.
So you're trying to be brown, they're
Yeah,
trying
that
to...
Gulubi look doesn't work for me, you know. But yeah, and that's why the Japanese will come to Africa in winter, because they want, it's supposed to be culturally, the whiter your skin is. Look in Africa, the paler you are. It's a funny thing that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Beauty within the black world is marked by how pale your skin is. Black women don't want to be dark black.
They want to be
I'm too
pale,
black.
yeah.
They want to be pale. And I don't understand that. I don't understand this fixation
Yeah.
with being, look at you. Okay, they say Michael Jackson he did have a disease. But there's some people around at the country, I'm like,
Well, bleaching.
You are not the same color as you used to be.
Who are you?
You know?
Yeah, that's true, though.
And what is this? It's paler. Everybody has to be paler. Where? So we must be careful when we talk about racism that we're not implying it in our own societies.
That's true.
In our own picture of what beauty
That's
is.
true. Yeah, with legal action that we do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're still implying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one more thing, PJ. I spoke with the likes of your Support Sticks Mabuse.
Yes.
I also spoke to just a few weeks ago, Chico Silo.
Yes.
I mean, it's Chico
you've had them in
Silo
here.
Twala. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
There's something that I'm so much worried about, you know, that you find a musician has been releasing maybe from the 90s up until now, but you find that the career is over and that person is not making any living
Yes.
or reasonable.
It's happened
I
to
don't
me.
know, is it reasonable? How do we put it? Respectable way
Living.
of living.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, that has happened to me. Okay, I've had millions stolen from me. I haven't earned what I should earn. I haven't earned what I should. I mean, it has been stolen.
But why is that? The
I tell you what.
royalties?
Before we do that, I implore every single radio person to please make sure that. Well, in fact, this new Publishing Act.
Yeah.
I think the president has signed it, hasn't he?
He has.
Art and culture needs to get on to that. And make sure it's got to start on that side of we've got to look at not allowing these laws to be passed like this. What does Cyril Ramaphosa, and I'm not anti-Cyril Ramaphosa, what does he know about the Publishing Act? What do people that are actually running arts and culture, what does Zizi Kodwa know about the Publishing Act? Who was before him, the nice, tall, good-looking man?
Melusi Kigaba.
No, after, in between, yeah. But what do these guys, you know, we are the head of transport, then suddenly we're the head of this, and then we're a minister of that. I want to know, we need to guard our culture. It is the only thing that we will be left with. When, if everything goes down, our culture is what we will be left with. And somebody needs to guard that vehemently. And I must say, I've loved every word that's come out of Minister Gayton Mackenzie's mouth. So far, so good. So far, the best. If you know, I would say, but they need to be informed by people that really know the Publishing Act. Otherwise, you talk about white monopoly, whatever that thing is. Watch our music get owned by the wrong people very quickly.
Because it's more like now we as a country, we're not paying respect to our
But that is
legends.
Yeah, but that is it's something that South Africa has always had a. I look at how Margaret Singana died with lice in her hair, and I look at, but I am, let the youngsters fight this. Let them get on board and let them take the mantle from me now and go, demand that your music is played. Demand, because I'm demanding.
Yeah, and
but
also
I want to talk about now.
Yeah, now, because also the laws, we need to, level the playing ground nicely. The likes of our minister, Gayton McKenzie now, moving forward, he should do something.
He's doing some remarkable things, and I think he will. I think Gayton's biggest plus is he's willing to listen. And he's not a thief because he's got enough money. He doesn't even take a salary.
Yeah.
And that makes me sleep well at night because I know what was paid to, I can't remember his name, in COVID.
Okay.
And I think what happened in COVID is a travesty. And the musicians that got that money, they should be paying it back to musicians that didn't, like me.
You mean the
other
Mafugatas issue?
I'm not prepared to name names.
Okay.
But you said it, not me.
Let's talk about what you do now and what people should look out for. I know there's quite a lot that you do,
I've broadened my base of things that I do. I do some inspirational and aspirational speaking. I'm also going to be launching a podcast in the new year, which I'm looking forward to. But most importantly, musically, my most exciting thing is I'm about to release a single in the new year with Mzansi Youth Choir. I love those kids. They are just amazing. They've just been in New York launching Coldplay's new album. They're doing magnificently well, and I want to work with young people that are like that. I want young, respectful, nice, honest people, and so that my book is being released next year. There's so much. There's a movie we just arguing about the rights issue.
Yeah, the rights.
The music rights issue there. So
you're not gonna call your book Firefly, isn't it?
No, I won't. No, I'm not. It's not Firefly. It's actually called Feel So Strong.
Okay.
But there's a lot of interesting stuff. I would urge people to follow me on Facebook. It's just PJ Plowers -Thandeka.
Okay.
And then on Instagram is the PJ Powers.
Okay.
And on TikTok, which I love, it's the PJ Powers.
That's where they will see you dancing.
That's where they'll see me doing Mapazula dive.
Oh man, it was nice having you. Thank you so much for
Thank you, Rich.
Just making our studios to look so colorful.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much, and we're looking forward. And please don't stop the shows that you do. There's one, what do you call them? One woman stand-up show.
Yes, I'm doing that in Cape Town actually, and then I've got the big one at the Sunbet Arena, which is the Divas show on the 17th of November. Then I'm in Middelburg with a big festival with Mikasa on the 23rd of November. It's busy.
No,
it's
I love when you're doing that, encouraging our, young people, child, boy child.
The boy child and the girl child is something I'm very, but I love young people, I like being with young people. I think that's why I'm still young.
Yeah.
It's because I love the new ideas and the new expressions. And I love watching people, I see them going, oh my God, and then they get to the wall and they come back and they say, what did you say again? And then they go again. And it's lovely.
Can you sign off with that Steve Kekane duet?
And I feel so strong.
Yeah.
Your love has made me feel again that I belong.
Yeah. It's like I'm listening to a radio long time ago. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Rich. Thanks everybody at Happy Days for listening.
Yes, it's Happy Days. We are out.
Subscribe and become a member of the biggest family, the Happy Days on podcast family.